I would love to introduce you to the really fantastic Gwen Gordon. She's from Project... Oh.
No.
No,
I'm not.
Sorry, I'm all over the place. And I don't have my notes. Gwen's done a lot of amazing work around the future of work. She's worked on the Muppets, she's worked with Apple, she's done so much amazing things over the last few years.
God knows.
I know, yeah, the list is endless. And she's really fantastic. She got off a plane just yesterday and she looks like she's just sprightly as ever. So let's give it up for Gwen. I've got one final thing. If you do have questions, you probably should know this by now as well. Slido, slido.com, tag PauseQs, PauseQS. We're on the Beer Deluxe stage. Get on there. We'll do questions and things afterwards. So yes, thank you, Gwen.
Thank you. It's really great to be here. It's my first time in Australia, and I'm still a little disoriented. My mantra has been, I feel fresh as a daisy. So since it's so crowded and hot here, I think we should all use that little mantra. That just showered feeling. So it's gotten me through the day, I'll tell you. Since there are a lot of people here, I'm guessing that there's already a lot of awareness of the importance of play. So who already has a sense of play matters, and we're on board, but we just want more tools and understanding? That's about over half of you. And how many of you are still a little bit skeptical, show me? I'd like to believe it, but wait, I got a lot of work to do. Make it, sell it to me. A little bit? Just a few of you, my God, okay. So let's just go right in. I'm gonna make a bold claim. The only way we can meet our 21st century challenges is by playing. So this is to say that our challenges are not to become more efficient or productive. Our challenges are to become more adaptive to the rate of change as it's accelerating. So we're seeing more chaos, and we're learning to ride that chaos. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by shifting our paradigm. So this is we're going to go on a whole journey that's really about a transformation of consciousness of how we even see work, how we think of play, and hopefully by the end of this, I'll have converted you to the cult of play. So my interest in play and transformation started young. In my mid-20s. I started my career at 19 designing and building Sesame Street, and everyone could agree that's a pretty good start. I'm the one in the middle, by the way. 19 years old, wasn't I cute? And then I went on to the Media Lab at MIT as part of an Apple research group, building, designing alternative input devices and PlayStations for children. And then I left with some IP and a bad clicker. Created my own puppet characters, the Gumpers, and started my own company, started a for-profit, a non-profit, and by the time I was 25, I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I mean, it looked great from the outside, but inside I was miserable. I was actually working way too hard on weekends, didn't stop. I had started my life feeling like it's a playground. I mean, this is amazing. I have the funnest jobs in the whole world. This is the end of the rainbow. But in almost no time, my playgrounds all turned into proving grounds. Like, I could never do enough, I could never have enough, I could never be enough, I could never achieve enough to be able to play. Where it was like, this is supposed to be play. So can anyone relate? Yeah, a lot of nodding heads. So we think, well, if we just have the perfect job, we'll be able to have fun at work. And what I learned really young, the gift of having gotten everything I ever wanted in my work life, was that I could really recognize that it's an inside job, that I was turning my play into work. So most of us start life as if it's a playground, and I want you to actually take this little journey with me. So look around the room and imagine everybody here is a potential playmate. These are people, mysteries to be discovered, project partners that you haven't met yet, people who are going to be really fun to know. They're all a little strangely attractive, there's something interesting about each one, and there's nothing for you to get from them, there's nothing for you to prove. You can't say anything too stupid or fail in any way that will cast you out, that will make you any less valuable. I see you looking at me. I want you to look around. And just feel it. I mean, you don't have to catch anybody's eye. I know that's really scary. So if they look at you, look away. But inside, know that this is a person, everybody here, like, feel that. Everybody here is a potential player. You don't have to do anything to prove yourself. There's nothing to prove. All right. And then this is how we started life, right? Then pretty soon that feeling got buried. We got some conditioning. We started to feel like maybe we weren't enough. Maybe we had to do something, produce something, achieve something, prove something to earn our sense of value. That natural sense of home, that we're home and we belong, started to get buried and crushed. And we started to see the world as something we needed to get something from. Other people were going to evaluate us, or we were going to evaluate them. We were going to measure up. Everyone was seen in terms of status. And people were, and now look around and just see each other as like either an obstacle or an instrument of your success. And just feel how that feels. While I take a drink. Just notice like how the world changed just with one little flip of the switch, just one suggestion. And then in the worst case, we grew up, we started to believe that the world was full of threats. That like everybody was potentially going to hurt us. Every situation was not only a test, it was actually going to potentially, we needed to protect and defend ourselves. And I don't want you to do this for very long because it's really unpleasant, but just look around and see each other as somebody who could take something from you. You have to be careful around, right? See how quickly we can shift the mindset? Okay, you can stop that, shake it off. Not fun. And this is what we do. This is what we do. It's not that playground mentality is just the province of childhood. That's actually part of our true nature. Of course, when we're young, it's easier, it didn't get buried, but we didn't have, we were immature. We didn't actually have a sense of morality and empathy. And now what I'm saying is that it's possible to shift to the playground mentality and that everything in our lives goes better when we do. And just in case you thought, well, Australians, we don't really have that problem. I don't know, I thought maybe you didn't. So I looked it up and I saw that actually you guys rank like in the top 5 of almost every study I've seen on workaholism in the world. And in Business Insider magazine had you at second only to Japan. Japan, like they have a word for death by overwork. It's kairoshi. You guys are second in terms of work-related stress, work-life balance, and just overwork, more hours. So this is real. Like there's a real problem with workaholism, and it's not helping our work or our business. So what I'd like to do today, and we don't really have enough time, so I haven't timed this. I lost my presentations for the last 2 years before I got here. So I built this one entirely from scratch. Practicing what I preach. I was like, okay, how is this happening for me and not to me? And then we had a little font mishap right before. So what we're going to do is we're going to shift our mindset because fundamentally, the best way to change a system, to intervene in a system, is at the level of paradigm, of the worldview. And we are fundamentally in a worldview shift. It's a time in history when some of our basic assumptions are getting tossed out. So we're going to shift our mindset. We're going to appreciate the amazing power of play, and I'm going to translate that into business terms. We're going to get a glimpse of how to create playgrounds at work, if there's time. But all the way through, we're going to play a game called Name That Muppet. And that means that, so who knows the Muppet characters? Who's like, we got some hands of, okay, so here's the deal. A Muppet will appear every now and then, and I want to hear which Muppet it is. And if you get it right, you get absolutely no reward. You get the joy of playing the game, so. Awesome. Okay. So we're starting with worldviews. Now, we in the West inherited a slightly unplayful worldview. We had a very unplayful way into creation. Let there be. And got cast out of paradise by playing. and play. And we basically inherited a cranky, sky god with authority issues who would smite us, if we played it. Basically, we inherited a battlefield where good and evil were always vying for our souls for the eternal afterlife. Kind of high stakes. Also, we ended up with an idea that piety equals seriousness, and that was when play split from work, right? So play was the province of the devil's playground, idle hands. And that, of course, parlayed nicely into, 200 years under the thumb of the Protestant work ethic, which was basically showed us that work would always make your life better, and play was a frivolous pastime that was an obstacle to success and to virtue.
Robert!
Yoo-hoo! I thought he would fit particularly nicely there. I think they need him. I need a little like. Okay. Come on, crack a smile. Okay, then the sort of thing, worldview and religion and faith gave way to the Industrial Revolution and the scientific revolution, and we started to see the universe. Right? How did the universe start? Big Bang. It never started with a sound. There's no space. Sound couldn't travel, but we thought of it as a big machine. And basically a collection of dead objects that functioned in very reliable, according to rigid rules. And the sort of hero of the day was order and efficiency. And we inherited that. That we like, if you think, well, I don't think about that. We don't think about these things. We wake up, like we eat it for breakfast, we breathe it. It's just in ourselves. And of course that has evolved into the digital age. And while we, think differently about machines, it's no longer mechanical, we still think of ourselves as a machine. We're hacking, everything's a hack, a creativity hack. We're hacking our brains to get, tweaking it to get smarter. We're seeing ourselves and all of our activity as if it's something that we should tweak because, we're the machine builder to make it better, to improve it, always faster, more efficient, more productive. So we've gotten a little confused. I mean, we have to ask ourselves on a regular basis, are you a robot? We are not robots. No matter how many chips are implanted in us, we are fundamentally not robots. Robots do not play. That's one of the essential differences between a robot and a human. Aside from feelings. So we're going through this big paradigm shift, right? So the machine worldview, mechanistic worldview is getting turned upside down. We're getting thrown out into space, wondering, wow, what are we doing? And what's going to take its place? Because it has to. Because fundamentally, the world is not a machine. And if it were a machine, it would be really adaptive to hold rigid rules and to lead with command and control and to basically keep all of our, to have causal linear effects and just run things as machines. But it's not. So it's not adaptive. The universe, it's most adaptive if we function the way the universe functions, go with the grain. So we're going to start imagining how did we got this world, right? So imagine a world without play. Would there even be a world? Would there be hypothetical questions? Would there be an imagination? So how did we get the world that we have? So in the beginning, now I often carry an empty jar with me. I actually have one in my pack. I brought some helium from California. It's a stunt double. The universe started with an invisible gas. Okay, so get this. An invisible gas. This is really helpful to remember that in 13.7 billion years, something that you can see right through turned into the Milky Way galaxy, jellyfish, peacocks, broccoli, bulldogs, Beyonce, banana splits, the iPhone, iPads, the Taj Mahal, fidget spinners, the Mona Lisa, toasters, the opera. I mean, an invisible gas turned into everything we see around us. If that doesn't just blow your mind, that level of creativity, don't you want to know how it did that? Do you think it was efficient? Do you think it was following rules? So how did it do that? So the dynamics of evolution, and Stephen Jay Gould, this is not like a cosmology for poets kind of guy. This is like a, scientific materialist. So sloppiness, broad potential, quirkiness, unpredictability, and above all, massive redundancy. The key is flexibility, not precision. In other words, what does it sound like? It messes around. It's like experiments extravagantly. It makes big messes. It tries everything. It improvises. It uses one thing that was used for one purpose and turns fans into wings and fins. It is an amazing playmate, an amazing player. So this is another amazing thing that just never fails to completely blow me away. As the universe is evolving through play, what's happening? It's creating creatures that play. Evolution creates playfulness as it becomes more complex. As life becomes more complex, the species begin to play. And as the species play more, and as the species become more complex, they become even more playful. So complexity and playfulness are directly linked, and the path, so the theme for the conference is the journey is the destination. So the journey is through play, and the destination is increasing playfulness. I could stop now. It's like, does that not blow you away? So what are we here to become? The future of work is play, because the future of the human is to become more playful, which is more like the evolutionary power of the universe itself. I know we're at really high altitude, and it's really hard to see work from here, but just go with me. Just hang in there. We humans are the most playful species of all. We're one of them, most complex, right? And in fact, all of our civilization is the result of play. All of our innovations rely on play. Tom Robbins wrote, humanity has advanced, but it has advanced not because it has been sober, responsible, and cautious, but because it has been playful, rebellious, and immature.
Animal!
Woohoo! So, we lost that's interesting. There was another slide. Maybe this is an earlier version of the talk. It was a slide with a Stephen Johnson quote that wherever the future is happening, wherever people are having the most fun. He's seen that most innovations come from play. You can say that necessity is the mother of invention. Play is definitely the father, or the even bigger mother, the grandmother. So the amazing power play. We're now at the chapter 2. So in the last 10 years, the science of play has really exploded, and scientists have discovered more than 20 benefits. See if you like any of them. I'm going to talk about the first 3. When I was studying play, it was like, wow, it increases creativity, problem solving, makes you more sociable, grows brains. It's like, whoa, this is like a superfood. So I used to call it the kale of behavior. But actually what that just sounds like is that it's just really, 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 really good for you, when in fact it's fundamental to our well-being and our survival. It actually is located not in the prefrontal cortex, it's located in the limbic brain, deep, ancient part of the brain. And when they removed the prefrontal cortex of rats, they found that the rats played more. So this is not like a recent invention. This is something that's fundamental to our survival.
Count.
No?
Count.
It's the amazing Mumford! Okay, you guys have some brushing up to do on your Muppet research. Okay, so the first, kind of the highest level is that we're looking at, well, what is it that keeps us motivated? I mean, what are the top business challenges that we're facing? Engagement is one of them, right? So engagement, creativity, innovation, agility. That's why I chose those three. Anything else somebody wants to call out that is like a hot, that you really would like to know, does play have anything to do with it? Communication, great. We'll just talk afterwards. Okay, so have you seen this before, the motive spectrum? It's the work of Doshi and McGregor, and they basically just collected thousands of studies and did a lot of their own, and what they saw as the chief motivation, these below the line are extrinsic motivation, so external, and above the line are intrinsic motivation. And many of us think, well, purpose is even more, is even more compelling than play, but play by far was the most powerful motivation, that basically doing something for the joy of it was the leading, the most motivating motivation. So, oh, look, there it is. You'll find the future wherever people are having the most fun. Awesome. So that actually, you can see that, well, let's go back there. So, yeah, when you're playing at work, you're also creating the future and you're fully engaged. So finding the thing that has the most intrinsic joy. Following your joy has to do with actually, like, the joy that you feel is almost like, imagine it as a current of the universe. It's like the thing that's impelling evolution. You can feel it as the pleasure of doing something. And there's certain kinds of pleasure, hedonistic, many kinds, but this is a particular quality of just full engagement with something. Okay, so creativity and innovation. Now everybody knows in this room, apparently, who raised their hands, that play is probably the best creativity hack that we have. What we know from the research, that's Picasso, by the way, is that people who treat tasks as play are more creative than those who treat them as work. There was one of my favorite studies is from the University of North Dakota, and basically they had two groups. One, and they gave a problem to about 30 people. They said, just come up with a solution to this problem. And then they, no further instruction. For the second group, they said, come up with a solution to this problem and pretend you're 7-year-olds. And the 7-year-olds had 30% more viable solutions to the problem. Why is that? Because they were more open, they were more bold, they took risks, they weren't attached to the outcome. So this may be a good time to explain. We have lots of associations with play. My definition is, and it's extracted from many, but the bottom line is doing something for the joy of it without being attached to the outcome. That's the activity. Also, playful people are more creative. So they had comedians, improv comedians, try to solve a problem, and they generated 20% more solutions than professional designers. Just comedy improv. And it's because they still had that open state. So we're starting to see as the state of consciousness. Remember, we were looking around just seeing the world as a playground? So it starts to be like not so much an activity, but just actually a playfulness in your nature. So so the relationship between play, creativity, and innovation is that play generates possibilities, just foams possibilities. And then creativity turns those possibilities into actualities, and innovation makes them useful. So you no play, no innovation. It's foundational. Now the research also shows that it's not just play, but there's a sweet spot. You can play without being playful. Some people are like very serious when they're playing. And you can be playful and not be doing an activity that's play. But when they overlap and you're doing an activity, you're not attached to the outcome, and you're feeling lighthearted, joyful, I'll show you more about the playful state, then you get that generates the most creativity and innovation. So playfulness, that state of consciousness, brings with it presence, openness, flexibility. You're bolder and lighthearted, spontaneous. This is the state that's going to be able to navigate the future. Can you see why? and we're gonna have fun doing it. See, it's like, oh wow, this is not a threat. It's not like, shoot, my deck, oh no, what happened to my presentation? It's like, and now this. It's like, so playful people then, so there's some concrete results in the business place. Is there like a way, I don't know what time it is, I'm like not tracking at all. Oh boy. Okay, so we're not gonna get through the whole thing. So, playful people. If you want the citations for this, I'm just gonna skim through, but basically, like 98% of CEOs will more likely hire somebody who's playful and has a good sense of humor. They get more promotions and raises, they get better evaluations as leaders, and generally have more trust, better communication, and higher morale. And yet, only 29% of companies in the US. What? Ah! Oh! I was supposed to wait till. Okay. Beautiful. You're ahead of me. Only 29% of companies in the US encourage play and humor in their culture. This should be like one of those Sesame sounds. Okay, adaptability. So play is particularly, so actually scientists consider basically play to have two primary functions. One is for connection to ourselves, each other. It grows pro-social brains. It helps us navigate the social sphere. Connection is, we're having a connection epidemic. Play is one of the leading ways in which we learn to connect, starting from 6 weeks old when our ocular nerve forms and we can smile at our moms. And the second one is adaptability. So play is training for the unexpected. People say, well, I don't like change, I don't like to be out of control. Actually, we love being out of control. We just love surprises as long as they're positive. And we want to be in control of being out of control. And that's what play is. Play normalizes risk. It gives us the opportunity to step out of our comfort zones, try something new, test, put on new behaviors, try something socially, just experiment with low stakes. We're making the choice. And in fact, if we didn't play, like here these little mountain goats are experiencing like new ways of navigating the physical space, and as they do, as they're playing, their muscles are getting more coordinated, they're getting a wider repertoire of possible responses to change. It's a very foundational, and this is an adult mountain goat that obviously played along as a kid. So, as Leon Megginson said, it is not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. So how can organizations afford not to play when play is exactly what it takes to learn to navigate change? All right, so this would start a new chapter. We have how much more time? 3? Before Q&A? Because I really want Q&A. I'm going to just skim over and just give you... Yes, there we go. So as we know, in Silicon Valley, play is very popular. We're starting to get it, play good. So actually, the sale of ping pong tables has become an index for the health of the tech economy. That's how far we've gotten. But everyone knows that plopping a ping pong table into a cutthroat proving ground culture is not going to suddenly turn it into a happy little playground, right? It's a much deeper process. So here's just 4 highlights of how we unleash our playful spirit. The primary thing, above all, is safety. So safety, permission, welcoming everything. What was that? Oh! These were supposed to pop up like, awesome. So welcome everything, let go of results. These are like the 4 pillars for unleashing the playful spirit. Safety is functionally our transformative state. When we feel safe, this is a neuroscientist, we have access to neural circuits that enable us to be social and happy and playful. The Aristotle project that Google did showed that psychological safety was actually by far the most important factor in the health and functionality of teams. Emotional safety, that it's okay, I can say what I want, I can make mistakes, and I'm not gonna lose face. That's playground mentality. That's fundamentally, I'm safe. So some functions for safety, just that you know you're there for you, job security, shared values, real friendships at work can help. demonstrate care by organizations, learning organizations. It's a lot of factors, but those are some. Permission. Playful leaders, so that's basically what creates permission in the environment is other people modeling play, things in the environment that say play is a value, playful programs, encouraging the play that's there, not thinking it's like in the way, an obstacle, create time to play. And I love this, like no forced play. We're only playing when we're free not to play. This is not about the tyranny of fun or happy, happy, up, up. It's about like an attitude in which you're welcoming what's there and building on it and safe enough to take risks. So we're gonna try, this will be the last thing we do. So we'll give you permission. Let's try permission. All right, so just think back when you were a kid and like making faces in the mirror. Remember that? Okay, so close your eyes. I'm gonna close my eyes too, so I'm not even looking at you. And just make one of your like silliest faces. Just keep doing it. Okay, I'm gonna keep squinting. I'm seeing a little. Keep going. I want to see your silliest face. Yeah. Okay. Let's see some more silliness. All right, now open your eyes and just turn to somebody. So the cool thing is, you get a bunch of adults together and you say we're gonna play, and what happens? They're waiting. What are they waiting for?
Permission.
Somebody else to start. As soon as like one person goes, I'm gonna be silly, and it doesn't have to be being silly. It's just being fully engaged. Usually, it's like, oh my God, it takes 3 before there's actually like some momentum. And there's some research on that. But it's contagious. People want to be free. They want to be themselves. We're tired of the conditioning, that's the incessant self-monitoring and the fear. We want to be free. This is the future we're heading toward is actually, if we're going to make it, it's because we've unleashed our inherent playful nature and evolved to become the playful species, fully become the playful species that we are. Okay, welcoming everything. That means all emotions. The biggest obstacle to play is not wanting to be with what's there, and oftentimes that's a difficult emotion. So, and then letting go of results. And I'm really sorry to say that means that, that you can't even be attached to getting playful. It's about the process. So what we're doing here is so important, we better not take it seriously. And time is fun when you're having flies. All right, there are 7 paths to play. I have an ebook. You can download it from my site. There you go. And I don't really, just spelt them out. Yeah.
Can you tell me about the retreat?
Oh,
That is a plug and a half.
Yeah, shameless. I love you. There is one space available in the retreat. It just opened up, and I think it's not full price, so you might maybe get a discount. So if you want to join us in the retreat, we're gonna have a great time. This is all talk. We're gonna get into the play.
What muppet would you be and why?
What muppet would I be and why? I think I'm Super Grover. Super Grover! I mean, Elmo, yeah, but you probably guessed that. Any other questions? That was a great question, by the way.
Just belt it out there, though.
So,
Yeah.
what companies do you think does it well, like play? What's a good example of a company that do it well?
Does play well?
Yeah.
Right, of course. We know, Google has a 20% rule. It's filled with slides and foosball courts, and IDEO has the methodology. And the company that I like Hope Labs. They're they're a mission-based organization, and I know the internal guy, and there's it's so integrated into their kind of DNA and culture that you wouldn't say, they play a lot. It doesn't look separate. Also, Semco is an interesting case study. They've completely gotten rid of roles, and you work as much as you want, and they've really gotten play into the structure. And again, it doesn't look like an activity. It's a intrinsically motivated space that feels safe.
What do you think about the future of competition and its interaction with the club?
That's a great question. I like to make a distinction that's based on James Carse's work about infinite and finite play. Finite play, Yeah, so he's wonderful. He's excellent. Finite and infinite games, if anyone wants to read his work. So finite games there's a winner and a loser. The whole purpose is to win. The game ends. The rules are rigid and not everybody's included. So that's competition. The sort of ultimate example of that is war. Finite. Infinite games, the entire purpose of the game is to keep the game going, everything's included, and the rules changes as needed. So the cool thing is that finite games can exist within infinite games, but infinite games can't exist within finite games. So competition can be totally enjoyable when you're holding it within the infinite game, and that means that you're not actually attached to the outcome. You're enjoying the process. So I like to think of play as passionate non-attachment. And what that really, think about the most spiritually mature people we know, the Dalai Lama. Everything is play, and there's no attachment. Because nothing has to happen, nothing has to change in order to have a sense of well-being. The well-being is there. It's like we're touching I call it the playground of being. It's our true nature. It's deep. I'm kind of throwing stuff at you, but yes.
What do you think about sort of play? Do you think it requires empathy within groups,
Yes.
or do you think it helps develop empathy?
It develops empathy. So there's a lot of research on how morality actually started from play, because cooperation. When playmates who aren't perfectly matched play together, like a polar bear and a husky, and this has happened, the polar bear will actually handicap itself and be attuned to the pain threshold of the husky, or the play stops. If they want to play, then one has to actually be really attuned to the other. So in any play, you're not just doing your thing on somebody else, you're actually sensing how are they affected. Because there's a huge motivation to play. It's primal drive. So we actually develop all these secondary skills about how to navigate subtle social cues and stay in relationships. So it's the foundation for cooperation, morality, empathy, all those things. It actually builds pro-social brains. Those neurons get connected through play.
Awesome. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Gwen. Gwen's going to be around for the next couple of days, hang out, grab her, talk to her, find her.